I'm Dr. George Flynn. Welcome to In-Depth TV. And today we're going to talk for a few minutes about football, baseball, hockey, sports, or are we? I was at a football game the other day, and they were going up and down. You know, they have 4 downs to make 10 yards. And I kept looking for that yellow line to come across. The yellow line, and it would move around, and I thought to myself, where is that yellow line? And I have been used to watching sports on TV. Football, basketball, baseball, hockey, any kind of sport. And there are all of these electronic, superimpositions so that you see the yellow line, you see circles around players and which way they're going to go. And it's very interesting because I kept looking for that in life, and it wasn't there. And this instant replay that they have, I'm used to watching that on TV, but I did see them have instant replay, and they would show it on the big, they call them jumbotrons, big TVs at the stadium. And I saw them use it. I saw him use it several times, and it's primarily for the referees, I guess, because a runner made a complete, went for a touchdown, but he stepped near the line, near the white line on the sideline. And so they replayed it, ran it backwards and forwards, slow motion, frame by frame, and they looked at it, and he did step out of bounds. So it negated the touchdown. Now that to me was interesting because the video is either running at 24 frames a second or 30 frames a second, depending on how they run it. It can be run at high definition, standard definition, 4K, all kind of, definitions and clarity of the picture. But that instant replay helped the referee make the proper call. Because that instant replay was recorded right there in what they call real time and then run back and forth, and it was the same replay each time. Now, what has that got to do with you? What has that got to do with me? We have instant replays that run all the time in our heads. Instant replays about things that happen to us. And that instant replay varies from person to person. In other words, you may see the 2 of 3, 1,500 people, who cares, may see the same event. And yet when you recall it in your instant replay, it may be totally different. Because most people will have this adjustment in their head, say for a car accident. And during that car accident, they see one person at fault, the other person in the right. And this may change with time. So in other words, they may have the right instant replay right during the accident or before the accident or right when it happened, but it may change with time. Like you may have been in an auto accident and the other person may have hit you from behind. And it's all okay during the accident. Everybody has the right recall. But then 2 or 3 days later, the other person may say, well, they slammed on the brakes and I couldn't avoid hitting them. So memories change. And it's usually to protect the other person. So when your memory changes and that instant recall comes up, that instant replay, it gets driven deeper and deeper into your memory till you're sure that's the way it happened. You're absolutely sure that nothing happened that way. Well, instant recall, instant replay is interesting when it happens to you in a traumatic episode or some episode where you made an error, where you were guilty about something, where somebody called you a bad name. And this may have been when you were a kid. Somebody said something bad about you. You were at a heightened emotional state, and it really went deep into your psyche, into your memory, because you were at this heightened emotional state, and somebody proved that you were lying, or somebody proved that you had done something. So all through your life, this instant replay goes on. When you do something bad, or when you tell a white lie, or when you do anything, it goes back to that, and you replay that instant. And people do that all the time. And they say, well, I must be no good. It must be something wrong with me. I must not have been there in school the day that they gave out those secrets. Because they say, I never learned those secrets. I didn't know any better. But that negative stuff that happened, it could have happened before school, it could have happened in kindergarten, pre-K, could have happened in grammar school. Who knows when it happened? Could have happened to a teenager, because all teenagers are in a heightened emotional state all the time. We all know that. But some negative comment will go in, and you will think about that the rest of your life. It will affect you forever in your lifetime. So what do we do about this? Are we just, that's all I can do? That's what happened to me? I was in that emotional state, and I can't get it out of my mind. I can't think about anything else except how I made an error. I may have made an error on a test. I may have read it wrong. I may have made an error in a sports game, and people laughed at me. I may have made an error driving, and I was ridiculed. I may have made an error in a speech, and people made fun of me. Whenever you make those kind of errors, and even if nobody says anything, you perceive that they've made fun of you. You perceive that you're being laughed at. That's when we need to attack the problem. And so you say, well, it's just the way I am. I can't change that. Oh, I don't believe that. You can change. I'll go back to my old Zig Ziglar quote, and I learned this from him. You are where you are who you are what you are by what's gone into your mind. You can change who you are, you can change where you are, you can change what you are by changing what goes into your mind. And as simple as that sounds, it's true. It is absolutely true. So what can we do? We've got this instant replay, and we all know that we can change that instant replay. But what I want you to do is not try to change the negative one. Let's get rid of it. And how do we get rid of it? We get rid of it by overwhelming it with positive instant replays. You can either, if you have a yard full of grass and there's some weeds, you can either go around picking up weeds, plucking weeds out, or you can keep growing grass and have the grass choke out the weeds. It's the easiest way to do it, and the best way to do it, and the most fun way to do it. Keep growing grass to choke out the weeds. So, how do we do this? Well, first of all, I'm going to give you the bad news. The bad news, it's going to take 21 to 30 days. And the good news is those 21 to 30 days are going to go by no matter what. It's like when I went into medical school, the professor got up there and he said, it's going to take you 4 years to get through medical school. And you can either spend those 4 years getting through medical school, or you can not go, and those 4 years are going to have passed, and you either will have gone or you won't. But the 4 years are going to pass. Well, I'm telling you, it's going to take 21 to 30 days, and those days are going to go anyway. So let's make the most of it. So when you do the 21 to 30 days, and we can even call it a challenge, I want you to visualize positive things that will help you see yourself in the best light. Sometime when you helped somebody, sometime when you did great on a test, sometimes when you were in the zone in an athletic game, sometimes when you just felt good about yourself. When was it? Think of that time. Now, we only have to have one. Okay, you can have two if you want. You only have to have one. Think of that time when you felt good about yourself. And then any time in the next 21 to 30 days that something negative comes into your head, replace it immediately, because you can do this, with the positive one. The time when you scored highest, the time when you achieved the most. And you say, well, I didn't have a time when I scored the highest. I did. Yes, you did. You did when you came out the winner. And there's a winner in you. And you just come up with it. It can be something so small. When you learned how to play the piano, when you learned how to do one thing, when you learned how to tie your shoes, you're a success. When you learned how to walk, the first time you fell down, second time you fell down, finally you learned to walk. Come up with something that you learned how to do and replace it. Replace all those negative things with this positive thing or these positive things that you learned how to do for 21 to 30 days. Now, you're not going to see any change for the first day, maybe 2 days, maybe 3, up to 7 days. Then automatically, magically, something happens where you will begin to change. It's not an instant thing. You'll begin to change little bits at a time. And by the time you get to 21 to 30 days, you'll have a new habit. That's the important thing. You've developed a new habit. And this habit of thinking good things about yourself, of not constantly beating yourself up, of not, thinking you're the worst person in the world, because I'll guarantee you're not. You're not the worst person in the world. You will begin to see yourself in a different light. You'll begin to see the magic that's you. And that's the important thing. You got a lot to give. You got a lot to give. Don't withhold it from the world. Some people may not want it. That's okay. Other people's are dying for it. So you find the people that want it and you give it to them because they need it, you need to give it, and you'll feel so much better about yourself. You'll have this positive outlook on life, and this instant replay is going to work for you rather than against you. I'm George Flynn. You've been watching In-Depth TV. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.